What is the most bizarre sexual request you have ever received in a relationship? She asked that we stop sleeping with and seeing each other and start sleeping with other people instead. Very bizarre request. Not a relationship, but a hookup. I used to work with this guy and we would endlessly flirt with each other. After a few months, he asked if I wanted to come over to his apartment to hang out. As soon as I walk in, we're all over each other. It's like the chemistry is too much. We're completely naked and just getting into his bed and he jumps up like, oh, I forgot something. He goes into his closet and comes out wearing a bowler hat and monocle. I kinda laughed like HHA. Okay, please come back now. And he awkwardly stands there and says, but I always wear this. I seriously thought he was ducking with me. He wasn't. He kind of got upset. Then said, I have another pair, but I'm sure you don't want to wear it. We proceeded to hook up with him in his disguise. It was so ducking awkward. A woman I was sleeping with would only get off if I pretended to be her brother. She had no siblings, so I said whatever and went with it. Was asked to tickle her until she wet herself. We gave up after like an hour and a half. Girl ran onto the kitchen, came back with a cup of ice and stuffed the ice in her, and told me to duck her. I did. It was cold. I think I'd do it again, lol. Now ex-girlfriend of mine asked me to roleplay rape. It was a weird experience, and I didn't want to do it at first. Eventually went with it. Had a great session but never again. It started to feel too real, I guess. I was surprised when a girl I was dating asked me to choke her during sex. I was even more surprised when another girl asked me to choke her. I was more surprised the second time because I realized it must be very common. As someone who's made a bizarre sexual request or two, I'm just patiently watching this thread to see if any of my exes show up. She wanted to drop a log on my chest. No thanks. I'm not a lumberjack. Not sure if this counts, but a girl I was good friends asked me to give her $5 off a bag of weed in exchange for covering her boobs with peanut butter. I took it as a joke and complied platonically, but in retrospect I think she was probably disappointed that I didn't take it any further than that. Not technically a request, but a girl once said you couldn't hit me hard enough when explaining to me the sexual gratification she gets from physical pain. For her, a vicious fisting was considered light foreplay. Clarification: vaginal fisting / cervical punching. She also couldn't orgasm unless I was choking her to the verge of passing out. To put on a thong and pull the straps over my shoulders to make a mega camel toe. Years later when Borat came out, his swimsuit definitely made me chuckle. Girl told me she was into orgasm denial. I wasn't sure what that was, but I knew I would be really good at it. Not even gonna bother with a throwaway cause fuck it. I've received many kinky requests that aren't too out of the ordinary. But then I hooked up with one gal who just had all the bizarre ones I've been asked at once. She wanted me to pee on her, but specifically in the corner of the living room, and wanted me to laugh at her while doing so. I declined. She also wanted me to feed her cake during sex, as in, during intercourse, and to also slap her belly while doing so. Not my thing. But, hey, that one was a little easier to accommodate. As foreplay, she wanted me to sit next to her and demand that she eats all sorts of things. A huge plate of spaghetti, some cakes, and Chinese food, for example. Then, she wanted me to either masturbate while she ate or actually ejaculate onto the food, and force feed the rest to her, or otherwise yell and demand that she eat the food. I did not accommodate that request. I was asked to watch him intently as he contorted his body in order to cum into his own mouth, but I couldn't touch him. After years of stifled, unrealized sexual energy, my friend and I took quite a lot MDMA together. Not the first time. Things got really hot for the first time, and I confessed to him that I needed a shower before we continued as the drugs had made me very sweaty. We ended up taking a shower together. And in passing I mentioned my bush. Really? Just a glorified landing strip. He asks me if I trust him enough to allow him to shave me. Drugs aside. I very much did, and I consented. Drugs included. It was weird but very sexy and intimate. Thinking back, that was an odd request, but dude was not a weirdo about it and respectful. 6/10 would do again. I'm very late to this, but my boyfriend has asked me multiple times that when we have a house with a backyard, we set up a tarp and cover ourselves in lube and have at it. I got asked to come on her feet every time we had sex. XBF, remember now. We were teenagers, had this thing where he pretended to have schizophrenia. And he wanted to duck me as one of his various personalities living inside his head. These included a vampire king, his dead brother, he never had a dead brother but apparently RPD in his head as one, a large dog, and a couple female identities. Each time he'd change identities. He'd pretend to pass out on my bed and wake up as somebody new, each introducing themselves to me, and then expressing their desire to duck me. So we'll just say I ducked a vampire king and a dog. Or at least a guy pretending he was a dog, I guess. It was a casual relationship. But a guy asked if I was still breastfeeding. For reasons. I learned that quite a few men are into it. I, on the other hand, am not. This is now my most upvoted Reddit comment in the history of my 4-year-old account. What have I done? It wasn't necessarily sexual, but my husband peed on me in the shower. Thought it was a good laugh. But then I wrapped my leg around him and peed right back on him. True love. Had a girl that got off on fresh haircuts. After a couple unplanned haircuts I noped out of that relationship. The guy who dated her after me looked like he was getting weekly haircuts. He also looked very miserable. Ex-girlfriend told me that after she died I should duck her pretty pale corpse. There was this one guy who kept messaging me back in the day asking if he could break my toe for his sexual arousal. He even said he'd take care of me while it healed. But no. Gross. Missionary position with the lights off. But not for the explicit purpose of procreation. Scandalous. A woman wanted me to mash her clit with all of my weight once. With my thumb. Other thumb stacked on top. Leaning my full weight on it. No rubbing. No motion. She literally used the word mash. Lo and behold, she came buckets. Never seen anything like it before or since. She says push on it. So I put a little pressure. Push harder, she says. Harder. She starts to get a little flushed. Mash it. Unnug. Fucking mash it hard. Hard. All of a sudden she's doing the Wook impression. She wanted me to put a knife to her throat while I ducked her from behind. Never felt so close to someone. I am currently dating a woman who asks for me to sleep with other women. She gets excited hearing about the details. And one day wants to watch. I enjoy this request of hers.